your cell phones. And then if you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Could we have a roll call, please, for attendance?
Atkins.
Here.
Johnson. Jones.
Here.
Long.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Hartman.
Here.
She does not have to be here. Pearson.
Okay. Next thing on the agenda, the approval of the minutes for March 4th, 2024. Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
We have a motion to approve the minutes by Mrs. Jones. Do we have a second?
I can second that.
We have a second by Mr. Atkins. Could we have a roll call, please?
Atkins.
Yes.
Johnson. Is not here. Jones.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Motion passed. I don't see any findings of facts to approve, so we will move on. Next up will be public hearings. First will be continued from the last meeting in March. Docket 01 SP-24, Pearl Lennon Living Trust DTD 82410. Address 900 West 200 North 27 Converse. To allow a cell tower in an agricultural zone district. Is the petitioner present for this hearing?
Yes, sir.
Would you come to the podium, please? Would you sign in and give us your name?
Sure. I'll go ahead and do the presentation, then I'll sign in, so I'm not keeping you.
Oh, that's okay. You go ahead and sign in now, and it's out of the way.
All right. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Beanick. I'm with a company called LCC Telecom Services. We represent a tower company called Tillman Infrastructure. We are looking at putting up a 305-foot tall guide tower with a 9-foot lightning rod on top, and AT&T is looking to go on this tower. The tower is located at 900 West, 200 North, 27 Converse. And essentially, the tower is located approximately 315 feet back off the front, 312 off the side, and basically, they have a lease compound that is going to be 100 foot by 100 foot, and also a 12-foot wide gravel and access road going back to the tower. One of the items, I wasn't involved last month when they came before you. Unfortunately, the sign was not placed, so therefore we were tabled, which meant I'm here this evening. Essentially, I contacted the county staff this morning and found that there is a letter, and I see it on the DS, from American Tower objecting. Well, it's supposedly objecting, but I read through the letter, and it really doesn't say a whole heck of a lot. It basically says that they have an existing telecommunications facility within 1.5 miles of the existing tower. We're proposing to go across the street, not 1.5 miles away. Secondly, they're willing to work with the applicant on a solution as a suitable alternative within a 2-mile radius. The fact is, we found a suitable location. American Tower does not do their own site acquisition. In fact, companies like us, we represent them too in other cases. We do the work for them. So them telling us that they're going to help us find a suitable location is totally a misnomer. We found a suitable location. It meets all the criteria for what AT&T is looking for. And then they said, we have not been contacted by the applicant to discuss the structural capacity. The bottom line is, AT&T is currently on that tower. The structural capacity is not even an issue for AT&T. So all the points that they've raised in their so-called letter of opposition are not relevant. And so we went through the county zoning ordinance and looked at all the criteria, and it does say that we have to look for co-location within a 2-mile radius. When I was going through your ordinance, I found a provision in it that clearly gives us the ability to argue what we're arguing this evening, and that is section 153-593A4, which basically says if there are other criteria that limit or other unforeseen reasons that make it unreasonable to locate the planned telecommunications equipment upon the existing or approved tower or building. So what we provided, and I don't know if you have a copy of this, but AT&T, I believe you should have a copy of this. It's a letter from AT&T. It's not in the exhibit book, but I'll provide it after I go through it. AT&T is currently on that existing tower, and what's happened is over the years, as with anything that you lease, the rates go up. And this was built, I don't know when it was built, but it was probably built back in the early 2000s, maybe even the late 1990s. So as you can imagine, that lease rate has skyrocketed. And of course, American Tower, to make their money, they have to pass it along to the carriers, which makes it very hard for companies like AT&T to build out a reliable network throughout the country if they're being gouged by various tower companies paying well above market lease rates. And so they hired Tillman Infrastructure to go out, and they hired us to go out and find a suitable location for a new tower which, as I stated, meets the requirements of your ordinance with this economic burden letter that I'm going to provide you. And I see you have one over there. So basically, it's from AT&T stating that the high rent relocation program identifies high-cost, economically burdensome sites, and they look for additional alternatives. So that's what the proposed new tower is. Tillman Infrastructure is leasing the property for significantly less than what American Tower did, which they can share with AT&T and any other carriers that come along. Now, essentially, American Tower, they're objecting because they don't want to lose any potential revenue. So essentially, it's trying to create a monopoly is what they're doing. If you don't approve, then they essentially can charge whatever rates they want. So unfortunately, there's no market ability for AT&T in that instance. Basically, and additionally, when AT&T does any upgrades to their equipment, their rates go up. Anything they do to that tower, it goes up. So these days, as you know, most of the carriers, it's up to the carriers, but AT&T is looking to go to 5G, and to do that, they're going to pay more money. And again, it's getting out of control. So that's essentially what the purpose is. And as I said, we do meet the criteria of your ordinance. We are on a lot that is zoned and allows for towers with the special exception. And the fact that there's another tower across the street the county has already deemed this to be an appropriate location for a cell tower. It's adjacent to a cemetery, vacant wooded area that would be the west, the cemeteries to the south, and that's really about it. So that's what we're proposing, and I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
I got a question for Ryan. Have you checked the zoning for that tower? Have you been out there to get a chance to look at it?
Yeah, I was out there today.
Okay, does it meet the criteria?
Yes. And in your packets are the ordinance he's talking about.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, and ironically, when I highlighted that same, I noticed in the staff report, you highlighted the exact same provision. So staff also highlighted the same.
So there's a tower across the street
Yes, sir.
that's is active right now,
Yes,
and you're going to build one on the other side of the street.
correct.
And
Well, proposing.
okay. And it's going to be a different cell provider that you're going to lease to than the one across the street?
No, AT&T will come off of, there's two carriers, T-Mobile and AT&T are on the existing American Tower site.
Okay.
AT&T hired Tillman to build them a new tower so that they could move their equipment.
Okay.
And to be blunt, these carriers don't want to come off these towers. It's very costly to move equipment. But that's telling you it's too costly to stay rather than to move.
Is there any known impact towers being that close of cell reception?
No, absolutely not. When you have any interference, it's on the same tower, and that's why when you look at a tower, there's about a 10-foot separation tip to tip of the antennas. That's where there would be any interference.
And you'll have to provide new connectivity to the new tower?
What do you, I'm not
Power,
following.
electricity?
Yes,
whatever it takes
absolutely.
to make it run, and that's all available there?
Yes. Well, for starters, the other site has it right outside of their access easement. So we work with the local utility companies, the power provider and the fiber provider, and they would run from, there's a transformer on I was out at the site. There's a transformer right across the street from where we're going, so they would likely tie into that, go under the road, and then come over. Same thing with the fiber was right there as well.
So is the old tower is going to stay?
Yes.
I'm hearing,
Yeah, it would be owned by American Tower still, and
okay.
T-Mobile would stay on it, or, that becomes their choice.
Are the residents close?
No. Closest is CCI, and he's catty cornered, and his house is a ways away.
Okay. So he's in,
It's cemetery, field, woods, field, tower, CCI.
so
Yeah.
as far as the zoning area part of it, he's in compliance with zoning that he needs to have that.
Special
With that tower.
exception.
With a special
Yeah.
exception.
Special exception. You can throw a cell tower in about any zone,
Yeah.
I think, except a mobile home park.
Right,
With
right.
special exception.
Okay.
I was out there and spoke with the one resident who was nearby, and he said there'd be no problem as far as he was concerned. We were both wrongly assuming that it would just replace the existing tower.
Gotcha.
I didn't
No,
understand that.
it's a
reading the
different
report.
company, so
Yeah,
that would be like asking McDonald's to take down McDonald's because Burger King wants to move
Yeah.
in. It's kind of one of those deals.
right, yeah, I didn't realize we were. dealing with-
Understood, yeah, no.
The old tower was gonna stay, and the new tower was going up.
Now, if T-Mobile came off of that tower, I don't know how your ordinance is written as far as decommissioning unused towers. I mean, but again, that becomes something that ATC, American Tower, would have to deal with, either finding another carrier to locate on their tower or whatever.
So American Tower owns
The
the one
existing,
that's present.
correct. And Tillman would own the new tower.
Why would American Tower, if they know that you're asking for a special exemption, why would they not just lower their rates to be competitive?
That's the million-dollar question. I've been doing zoning for 24-plus years for cell towers. And them and another tower company they chase us around at these hearings. They always say they're going to lower the rates, and maybe they do, maybe they knock 100 or 200 off, but it's not substantial. And then what's to say they do a handshake and say, okay, we'll give AT&T $200 off. You guys deny the request, they could turn around tomorrow and say, well, we want to make our money right back, and so you're going to upgrade your equipment, so now we'll charge you $500 more to make up that lost plus. So it's kind of a catch-22.
But I think our job here is to do the zoning and not to worry about whether competition or whatever. So let's just focus on that.
Understood, and that's, the reason I bring it up is that's the provision that we're looking to go,
Could you speak on FirstNet?
Sure. AT&T has a program, it's called FirstNet. I don't know if any of you have heard it. They've had a few commercials over the years. But basically, the design of FirstNet, and it's still growing, I mean, is basically the equipment that's up on the tower, all the first responders have the ability in an emergency. So, for example, you guys get a tornado come through here, and all the houses in a neighborhood get kind of, completely obliterated, and the first responders come to look for people. It would have information, say, for example, they would be able to look up your address, and there's a database in there with the police, the fire, the hospitals. They would be able to know that he's got this medical condition, or there's 5 people that live in that house, so that when they approach the scene, they already know the situation that's going on, so that they can better respond to that emergency. So that's really in a nutshell what FirstNet is, and that's, like I said, that's something that AT&T does, and they got money from the federal government to build out this FirstNet system.
Does the board have any other questions? Okay, thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone here opposed to this petition? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Come on up.
You have to come up.
Linda Morgan from Upland. Will this involve the county highway department if they're going to be doing stuff to the road or under the road?
It's not a highly traveled road. I mean, yeah, there'll be trucks, I imagine, coming and going on this road. Your concern is damage to the road?
Yeah,
Okay, that's a valid concern,
so that's what I wanted to ask.
yes.
Won't the highway department, or won't they be notified?
Yeah, probably for the
Yeah.
utilities easement.
Yeah, for the utility.
But this is a small county road. It's higher than the field, so the trucks are gonna come off of that. So, you know, having a driveway of gravel at least put in before any work starts would be a plus to avoid or minimize damage. Thank you for your point. You may be seated.
Is this a freestanding tower or a cable-supported tower?
It looked like a
It's
cable-supported,
a guide tower.
3
It's
guys.
got the wires.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. It's time for a discussion amongst the board members. As with all special exceptions or variances, they can be conditionally approved by the board. So a motion, if a conditional approval is requested, that'll be written into the requirement of this motion being passed. So just put that out there. If someone wanted to make a conditional motion, that is acceptable.
Will they be repairing the road, you know? Will you guys be repairing the road for any road damage or anything? If there's any damage to the road, will you guys take
Yeah,
care of that?
that would be up to the contractor. They are hired by Tillman, but yeah, we would certainly work with the county. We get a call and they, you know, before they get a final inspection, you can deny the final inspection if they don't
Yeah.
repair it. Because there would basically be a crane and cement truck and then other SUVs and that type of stuff on the site, so.
Okay.
I don't know with what they're building, it would be more than a standard home.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but you know,
They're gonna pour a pad connect to it.
right.
Probably a new home would have just as much gravel and cement.
I know when they put one out there on, I think it's 700, an up later, they put that tower there, it wasn't a lot of,
Right.
too loud about it, it was basically, they took care of it, so. No questions.
Any other discussion by the board?
Setback from the road, if something would happen, it collapse or something. You told me there was what's it, the tower electrode on top? That-
Pardon?
Lightning rod?
There's a,
Lightning rod,
yeah, 9-foot lightning rod, yes.
9 foot.
Yes, so it's a total of 314 feet. But again, the lightning rod is not a structural member, so the actual tower is 300 and,
Be an addition.
305, yeah.
One stroke?
I don't know. That is not determined by us. That is an FAA issue. They determine, and I believe at 300 feet, I think there's a mid-strobe. But they've improved over the years. They don't shoot out, they shoot up. Because the bottom line is we need the pilots to see it, not the neighbors.
Right.
I mean, you can still see it, but it's aimed up.
If it's no longer, if it's no longer in existence, are you guys gonna take care of removal of, taking it down or whatever?
Well, that's not his tower.
Okay,
He's merely wanting to put a new one
no,
out.
that's what I'm saying, but if it's something happens that he needs to come down or whatever, are they gonna be the ones to take it down? Or are they just gonna leave it there?
I expect the owner of that tower would
Okay,
have to take it down.
okay, are you guys,
Yeah, it depends on how it's written in the lease, but 99% of all leases have decommissioning language. I can't say 100% certain, but that's
most of them do,
typical.
yeah, but I just wanna check, okay.
Okay, now, AT&T is moving over to the new tower, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And there's one T-Mobile's remaining, is that what you said?
Yeah,
Okay, so
T-Mobile is on that tower.
One service left on that tower.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't guarantee that they're going to remain. That's up to them.
Yeah.
But
That's-
they're not part of this application.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any other questions? Okay. At this point, we'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request for the tower.
I would second that.
Okay. We have a motion from Mrs. Jones and a second from Mr. Young. We have a roll call, please.
Atkins?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
I'm assuming when the findings of facts are done, the co-location requirement will be addressed in there? The findings that are required for that also?
Yeah, no. What did you say about co-location?
Under our ordinance, there's co-location requirements when a tower's within 2 miles of another. There's findings that need to be had also.
Okay.
I'm assuming Ryan or whoever drafts them, just want to make sure those are in there. That's all I'm saying,
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah.
Will you handle that?
Usually you guys would, but we'll make sure it's in, we highlighted it, pointed out.
Yeah, it's in the handout.
Okay.
And from listening, I think findings of fact, that there's enough evidence to support that. But I just wanted to make sure that was covered in there, just in case.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Now, docket 03 BZA V-24, Heath Duke. That one has been tabled for a lack of a drawing at this point. We have no information actually on the barn that's going to be built here in the packet. So we're going to need a drawing, and that would be more acceptable to move forward with that one, so. At this time, for today, yeah, we'll have to do those. We normally do those afterwards and turn them in next meeting. I didn't see him in here. Oh, okay.
Me neither.
Finding of facts for that tower. I didn't see it in the packet.
Got one for Duke, but I don't have one for the tower.
Yeah, this is there.
Where's that?
Okay, look at, you see the AT&T
They're
letter?
both together at the end.
Then go. Okay. Well, okay, it looked like the list of them, but
This is different.
it's different. Yeah, go to the very back.
Section 153-101 special exception, is that the top of it?
Yeah, go to about the fourth or fifth page from the rear.
It's right after this.
You'll find it on, it says page 1 and page 2, but, and then there's page 1 and page 2 after that. But it's at the very back. There's 2 pages there.
Let's keep going.
I think she put them there figuring you guys could pull them off.
That should be it.
That looks like it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, show it to them.
Clear in the back.
This guy, I don't know.
Do you guys like it that way, or would you rather it be at the back of each hearing
This
for each
person didn't
separate
show
one?
us. We haven't heard that one.
We don't have a drawing. We do not have a drawing to make a decision with.
Hey, as long as you know where they're at.
Okay,
That's
We'll
correct.
make it easy.
So this will be,
Somebody can find it. Sorry.
You got it. Okay, at this time, we'll move on to reports, resolutions, communications, general discussion, and public comment. So, David, did you have anything for us?
Nothing other than what we just briefly discussed before the meeting. I had printed out a copy of the building report, and I was looking back through my emails. It looks like I did send that to you, and I haven't messed up the email address.
Oh, okay.
Is it Ed C. Hartman?
Yes,
Yeah, I'll resend that.
At
I'll make sure that
gmail.com.
You get a copy
Yeah.
too. I'll get your email. I
Okay.
thought I got yours too, Randy. I know I sent it down, but I couldn't find it. I sent it to you yet, so I could have mistyped the email address there too.
well, I was kind of looking for it, but I didn't see it.
We'll clean it up after.
There's a,
Would that be your phone? That'd be your phone
so is
email
Ryan going
address
to
or
get a
your
copy of that
office
so he
email
can give
address?
all of
It'd
us?
be coming
It
from-
should be from my phone.
Okay.
Is
Yes.
Ryan going to get a copy of that so he can give a copy of all
what's that?
the email David?
Yeah, what I said was, you were interested as a board,
Yeah.
and so was there a plan in tracking the permits and the values.
Yeah.
And so in Gas City, we have a kind of a spreadsheet that is presented every month.
Yeah.
And I think you guys thought it would be wise, maybe if the office would compile that, and then you could see it as part of your reports to you each month.
That might be fine.
So, had I forwarded that to you, Ryan? Not yet, okay.
We'll take a look at that,
Yeah.
and
Other than that,
maybe we have it as one report, you know, get input
and
from
give it to both
APC.
bodies.
Yeah,
It'd be very helpful for you.
yeah,
Gives you an idea what building activity is going on around the town.
right.
Other than that, I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there anything else? Okay, we need to circle back. We received a letter from the Burtons, and their next-door neighbor had a pole barn put in, and it was too close to the ditch. We talked about that. You remember that? It's been a couple of months. Has anyone been out to tell them they need to move the pole barn further away from the ditch? It should be 75 feet. No,
Where's it at?
it's right behind Subway. Pole barn was put in there. We did not approve it. We did not hear about it. First we heard about it was a letter from the Burtons, which I read in a previous meeting. It's supposed to be 75 feet from the ditch. It's much closer than that.
Subway.
Right behind Subway, Fairmount.
Oh, I'm thinking Sweetser, sorry.
Is it already erected?
Yeah, it's just drop in place
Oh, okay.
type.
Like pre-built,
pre-built.
large shed type of deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the guy that's
Exactly.
gonna put the containers in?
No, he's across the ditch.
Okay.
Yes. And we got their letter at that same meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about, I'm sorry. So
Okay.
Ryan and I hopped in the truck because we heard about it. It was
Uh-huh.
somebody who came in for a variance one day, called us and told us. We actually stopped them as they were dropping it off.
I made them take the yard barn back.
The yard barn's no longer there.
It should not be there.
He had it half unloaded, I had him load it back up.
Okay.
Told him until they got a permit.
They were supposed to come in and get one like the day after, and I haven't seen them
How
since.
big a structure we talking about?
It took up most of their backyard.
It was
was
one of
pretty
the
big.
big ones. They had got rid of one of them and was just gonna bring this in and drop it on cement squares. So the neighbor to the
Oh, I can't
south
remember his
called
name.
us about it, but yeah, we went straight over there. We caught it in the middle of the
Okay.
night.
Well, I'll get back with them and
It was kind of.
answer their letter then.
And we actually talked to them about the cars sitting back there too, and some of the trash that was also sitting around.
Okay,
And gave them 30 days to start moving.
good.
The Burtons is what threw me off. I thought, trying to think Burtons.
Yeah, they wrote the letter.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other board discussion? Okay. Anyone from the public wishing to address the board could come to the podium now, sign in, and speak to anything that we could help you with, which would mean that we'd have to have jurisdiction on this subject.
No name calling or cussing.
Except for board members?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Yes, sir, come up.
Name's Jerry Schultz from Marion. I still have not received an answer, a definitive answer, or my wife or I, either one. The Lisa Craig property in Fairmount. Has a variance been issued for her property for zero setback? When was that done? And why were we not given a letter notifying us that that was going to be on the agenda again? We didn't receive a letter the first time around. We found out about it. The second time around, we didn't know about it. And my understanding is that they started sending out certified letters to neighbors for rezoning. And I don't understand why I haven't gotten one. We didn't know it was rezoned. Didn't know when it was passed. And I'm tired of beating a dead horse. I can't get an answer. I can't get a definitive answer of why or what. And
Yeah,
they said there was an affidavit that the surveyor gave. Now, how do you pick up a house that's 100 and some years old and move the damn thing 6 inches back on side the property line? How the hell do you do that? It doesn't make sense to me. It's been in GIS mapping for years, for as long as we've owned that property. The surveyor went to the town board meeting and told everybody at the town board meeting in Fairmount that it was over the property line. And then I guess he received a phone call from somebody in the area plan department and asked him if he was sure. Well, all of a sudden, the house gets moved. The property lines are supposedly the same, But I still can't understand, and I don't believe it, and I want to know why we were not notified about this zoning, going for a variance.
I'm trying to remember. It seemed like January that we passed it at the second hearing, basically. You know, we didn't rehear it, but we did act on it.
What we did,
Is January correct? Because I'm just,
I'm pretty sure it's January.
I don't know if it's January or the end of last
or
year,
December.
but the house wasn't over the property line. The steps leading to the porch was over the property line. They removed the steps.
And the corner of the porch was still over the property line, 4.5 inches.
Okay, that I
At that time.
don't remember, yeah.
At that time, when the surveyor went and talked to the town of Fairmount. And I've still got that survey that shows that the corner of the porch is 4.5 inches over the property line. So now if it's 0 on the other side, something had to be moved 6 inches. And it shows the house moved too, because it's still running the same parallel, same lines it was before. So, I mean, yeah, you're right, the house wasn't moved, but something was moved. I mean, the porch wasn't moved. The house originally was only 4 inches or so off the property line. And then the deck was put on, and the roof put on the deck. I mean, come on, people. I'm tired of coming to these meetings and not getting a definitive answer and not getting notified when it should be legally responsible to let us know what's going on. I mean, I've had some medical issues and I can't keep track of that property every day. I've got a field camera over there to try to keep track of what's going on. And I've got pictures of stuff that should have never happened on my property over there by part of this group. And I'm
So Brian,
frustrated, I can't get a definite answer. I talked to him,
has he got his letters? Why is he not receiving those letters, or what's going on with the letters?
was we sent a certified letter? Is there any information on that? When did they start sending certified letters out?
That's what
It was last year.
we need to.
We started doing certified letters. We added it to the rules. And that was back in the summertime, I think, when we finalized that. But yeah, we did start sending them certified mail. Did a letter get sent for his
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
second appearance?
Look in the file.
Is it general practice the second time around, because that was a second time
Yes.
around?
Yes, it would be.
General practice would be to send the letters twice, if that's the case.
We went through, we know there are 3 separate surveys to this. I mean, the survey that Mr. Schultz is talking about is the one he had done. We had another survey done by Ms. Craig. Fairmount had a survey done, and we had an affidavit that Mr. Miller corrected the surveys, recorded them, and that's what we brought in here for the 0 lot.
A lot of the confusion seems to have been caused by the surveyor's office.
Well, one surveyor.
One surveyor who surveyed it twice and then went back a third time. We don't know why, since he got the same answer 2 times. A third time he goes back and decides, oh, the house is in the wrong place or something on the drawing. And said it just comes up to the line. And I'm sure that's why there's obvious suspicion as to what went on to cause, after 3 surveys, someone goes back and says, oh, I need to check this again, and oh, it's wrong.
Well, our survey cost us $3,500, our lot survey and that alley survey. Town of Fairmount paid $2,500 to Hal Ashton to go survey. That wasn't released until after everything was done. Hal Ashton sent a survey to the town of Fairmount, and they sent it back to him and told him to take the incidentals off that showed the house and the trees and stuff that was in hindrance with it. And so he didn't send that back in until later. His survey has never been recorded, to my knowledge. Our survey was recorded back in May. And then it was changed. After we paid $3,500, Mr. Miller sent us a bill for $4,500 for that survey. And he has surveyed property for us many, many times, and it's never been that expensive. I questioned him about the cost of the survey. He said, just send me $3,500 and I'll get the rest someplace else. Well, after he got the check for $3,500, 3 days later, I'm in a hospital. 3 or 4 days later, I'm in a hospital, and all of a sudden this transpires. There's an affidavit sent in that, oh, the house is moved. Something's wrong here. It needs to be addressed and it needs to be taken care of before there's legal action taken to try to get it resolved. Now, I filed an appeal. Mr. Glickfield was supposed to get back with me. It was a timely thing to start with. And finally, he told me a few meetings ago, oh, he forgot to get back with me, thought it was a moot point because everything was resolved. As far as I'm concerned, it's not resolved yet. When is it going to be done correctly according to the statute, the ordinances that were signed? I mean, there's different ordinances floating around. One's signed, one's not. And
Yeah,
I'm getting tired of fighting this shit.
okay, the ordinance you're speaking of had to do with your fence and a stop work order put on the fence.
That's
Is
correct.
that correct? Okay,
That's correct.
all right, so,
And the ordinance that was signed, that I went up to the commissioner, went in, recorder's office and found, there was no wording, no verbiage of fence at all in that ordinance that was signed. And it had a special exemption, number such and such on such and such page, that said that there is no setbacks on anything. You just can't protrude over the property line. I can't encroach over the property line. Well, somebody decided that our boulders was over the property line, so the town went down and moved them. Surveyor wasn't over there to put the marks down. There's a couple people from the town of Fairmount, and this guy right here, Nicole Bailey over there. And I got the ordinance later that said something about fence. It's not the ordinance the town of Fairmount sent me, the signed ordinance. But I can't find that anyplace. And it's supposedly on the county website. Now, how does it get on the county website if it's not signed and different verbiage? Now,
how does that happen?
We're gonna talk about it tonight in the area planning commission meeting. But when we put forth that ordinance, I did 3 ordinances that day. And we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna talk about, basically, solar ordinance was done July 18th, 2021. I tried to get 3 ordinances put together and put into the packets on the 19th. And then, in doing so, what the ordinance was supposed to be and what got sent were not one and the same. H got added, but E did not get changed.
so what's legal and what's not?
There's a signed legal ordinance,
That
right?
would be the one with the exemptions that we actually were supposed to change.
Okay, then the signed legal ordinance is this one.
It would be the one that gets the exemption. So we
It has a-
basically were making a change to add fences.
It has signed exception, 153.472. It also talks about structures. But it doesn't say anything about fence. Then on the website, it says, no portion of any structure or fence 30 inches or more from grade can be closer than 2 feet from any property line. But it doesn't have anything about excluding the permit exceptions 153.472, which is in the legal sign ordinance.
Which is supposed to be pulled out,
What's supposed to be pulled out?
the exemptions. It should read,
Well,
here's from July 19, 2021. Here's the email from Kyle, yards and setbacks. Most of this is our current ordinance with bold lettering, meaning new or changed. E, I changed some of the wording due to the mistakes. The last time it was amended, I have added H, addressing encroachment. This comes from numerous right-of-way issues we currently have. I know that the new ordinance won't affect existing issues, but I have to have something in place on right-of-ways, not for us, but for the highway department, that I can hang our hat on. It is difficult to enforce right-of-way issues when they are only partially worded in 3 different areas of the ordinance. So what was supposed to be sent is, if you look at what you have on E, nothing has changed in E. That's the original ordinance.
the original ordinance.
So somewhere when it got sent out, what I was presenting and what the commissioners had was not one and the same.
Why did the ones that the commissioner signed have on that thing about boulders and rocks and stuff and right away with exception of exemption such and such, that number that Ed was just talking about? I don't have the number in front of me. Now, you personally told me that there was no ordinances or no zoning on fences on that property over there. You personally told me that we needed to get it surveyed. We did. And then you said there's no ordinances on fences. And then all of a sudden, we start putting up a fence. There's a stop order put on our fence. We've got $3,500 in fence. We got $2,000 in boulders. They just keep getting jerked around.
Now, the stop work order wasn't due to building the fence. The stop work order was because we were creating a bottleneck in the alley in the way that we could not get an ambulance or fire truck.
I did not create that bottleneck. Now, nobody even knew where the fence was gonna go to end up because there was no ordinances and I didn't have to have a permit for it. So, nobody knew if that fence was gonna be just to the end of her road. I had to stop the contractors and everybody else from driving through my property. Now, if I'm told there's no ordinance and I can do it, and then I get a stop order to tell me I can't do it, I talked to the fire department and EMTs in Fairmount. They said, we wouldn't go down them alleys. We can't go down the damn things anyhow. They're only 10 feet wide and everybody's got buildings on them. Now, that's coming from the town, from the fire chief at the time, an EMT guy over there. After these meetings, I've been going to meetings, I'm tired of going to meetings and talking to people and not getting a definitive answer. Everybody's got an assumption of what should have happened or what might have happened, but not what did happen. Now,
And Jerry, with all due respect, you know what the town was telling us was exactly opposite. In the town board meetings was opposite.
no, the town board told me the first time I went and talked to them about the trees and the stuff and people going down the alley on our property line, the first thing they said came from David Broyles and somebody else, it looks like we're gonna have to take some trees down. Okay? Then they said, with my boulders there, they couldn't get a tree trimming truck down through there. I've got pictures of that tree trimming truck before it ever went down, before our boulders was moved. And our fence was not on the property line. So, I mean, you keep coming up with all these excuses and answers. There's nothing in writing, nothing legally that says that we couldn't do what we did. Now,
Well, you know, this ordinance that is signed is the legal ordinance.
Right.
How come you're giving out a different ordinance with that are not the same. It has
Because when that was
fence
recorded,
added.
when that was recorded, Justin recorded it. So what I had and what Justin recorded wasn't one and the same. So we need to correct, and we have, I mean, we have for 20 years said a fence has to be 14. We're looking at a structure, we're considering a structure 30 inches or more as being anything permanent.
Her deck is more than 30 inches tall off the ground. Her deck that's out next to it, was over 4.5 inches, is more than 30 inches off the ground. Now,
She came
that's,
and got a variance,
uh,
and she came and got a variance.
Well, in the exclusions that are referred to here, the exclusion is very clear, fences and retaining walls less than 6 feet. Those are excluded. But the words from the ordinance about the exclusion referring to this 153.472 are removed from this.
That was the purpose, was to remove the exceptions.
Who did that?
We did it in 2000.
Who's we?
I brought it in front of the area plan commission, got a recommended forward, and somewhere between me or Brenda sent it to the commissioners and sent half of the changes. So I don't know if draft 2 got sent instead of draft 3, but what I've got and what the commissioners signed are not the same.
you know,
Well, when are they gonna get on the same page as far as
Well,
what he's got and what he's got?
It was brought to my
That's what the
attention, it was brought to my attention, so I'm bringing it to the area plan
Tonight?
commission's attention tonight.
Yeah, let's get this taken care of.
there's too many, there's too many things that they said, he said, it's all conflicting. Now, there's gotta be a governing body that's on the same page with what is legal. Not what he said, they said, she said, what is legal, what is signed. Now, you go to the area, he shouldn't be able to pull up something on his computer screen that's got 5 or 6 big pages on it that says right there, no fences. And that's not a signed ordinance. There's no date on the top of it, no nothing. You ask for a signed ordinance, it's signed, we've already went to all the towns. Well, how do you go to all the towns and want to change their right of way if it's not a signed legal ordinance? Not because I want it or they want it, it's gotta be signed correctly. For it to be legal adopted, it's gotta be
So what you gonna do?
recorded.
I think our office should never give out anything that isn't a signed legal ordinance. We should have copies of those anyway. What's signed is what's law. Giving out something that has been changed and not signed and recorded is not law and shouldn't happen. Sir, I don't know how we can really solve this for you, and I apologize that this happened on behalf of our office. But I don't know that there's anything else I can do. I wish there was, but
Well, I just,
that's where I'm at with
I
this.
can't
Well, it's to make
understand.
sure that they get it done tonight in area plan.
Who's in control of
To find
what?
out what's going on.
Who's in charge of what office or how does the system work? There doesn't seem any rhyme or reason as to what his office is doing, the BZA is doing, the area plan is doing, the commissioners is doing. It doesn't seem like anybody's on the same page to where a common person, a taxpayer can come sit in a meeting and understand all this gibberish that's going on, it's not correct. So,
Yeah, I understand your concern, and we will make that adjustment to be only dealing with signed ordinances and giving out only signed ordinances and enforcing only signed ordinances. The Area Plan Commission is responsible for the office.
okay.
The office does work for both the BZA and the APC and reports to both those bodies. But to avoid confusion, one body has to take the lead and enforce the rules.
Okay.
But we also hear any appeals, which if you had a timely appeal, you only have 30 days. But if you had a timely appeal, we could hear it. And and I know at the time, there was all kind of confusion coming out of the surveyor's office, and that may have caused some delays.
Well, I
And
handed
problems.
an appeal to Mr. Glickfield at one of the meetings. And he
Mr. Chairman,
said
I'll
he
speak
would
to that if you
he
don't
said he
mind.
would
I'll try
research
to
it.
refresh everybody's memory on that.
Okay?
Because I've been thinking about this as Mr. Schultz has been talking. Couple points. Always remember that my legal duty is to the BZA and APC. If I get in a situation where I'm representing and answering questions from citizens, and theoretically that puts me in a conflict situation, I can't be in that situation. I did answer Mr. Schultz's question, because frankly, I understand his dilemma, and I feel a little bit for what he's went through. Plus, I'm friends with some of his family members, so I feel a duty to do that. Now, on the appeal, I did look at it, and I did report at a meeting, and it frankly should be in the minutes, that it became a moot point. He raised 2 points. The first point was the neighbor's property. They came back in and went through the variance process, so what he was appealing about, there was no legal issue anymore. There was nothing else to discuss. The second issue was the stop work order on his property. I was under the impression that that had also been resolved, because I thought he came forward and we took care of his issue also. So there was also a question on whether it was even done within the time frame. But in my opinion, we didn't need to cross that bridge because the issues he raised were already resolved. So that's my recollection of what happened to that. I think that was reported back to this board quite several meetings ago.
And
in an open meeting.
this board never took an action.
I'm sorry.
This board didn't take an action
No.
on Mr. Schultz's.
No, because the issues had already
Case.
resolved themselves, in my opinion.
Yeah, the issue of needing a variance, he was told he needed a variance. And I believe he was told he didn't need a variance. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct. And then I was told I needed one, and I said I didn't. So when I found this exemption notice and stuff in the ordinance, the signed ordinance, it says I don't need one. We don't need one.
Now, to me, that is an issue separately from what he raised in his initial appeal. If there's an appeal issue there and he wants to do that, then I think he's free to do that.
But the question would be, what decision would he be appealing? And at this point, like you said, there seems to be no
Yeah, it seems. has
decision to
resolved
appeal.
itself, I thought.
Well,
at this point.
Yeah.
to me, the fact is that what he wants to appeal is the fact is that there was no ordinance stating one way or the other. So really, he doesn't know what to do because we don't have the rules set in place.
There is absolutely no question that an ordinance is official, is not official unless it's signed
Right.
and it's gone through the proper channels
Right.
and attested to by whoever attests, whichever
Right.
body attests.
Right.
So I think a policy of only handing out ordinances that are properly approved and signed that should always be the case,
Right.
always.
So in regard to Jerry's need for a variance for his fence, if that's the legal ordinance and it doesn't say 2 foot away, he
Right.
doesn't need a variance for his
He
fence.
doesn't need a variance.
Yep.
According to this. According to
That's
that.
the legal document.
Right.
But I guess my question still goes back to why were we not given a certified letter that Mrs. Craig or Mrs. Craig was coming back for the variance? We were at the first meeting and contested it when it was tabled because of the surveys. It was waiting for the town survey. We were told that we had to stop it until the town had their survey, which
Are we retaining our receipts from
I
certified
was
mail?
gonna say, Ryan, can you look up and see
She should be.
that it was
She should have
delivered
it.
and then if he wasn't there
It
to
should
sign or
absolutely be in the
whatever?
file.
Yeah,
Okay.
every time.
yes,
That's what we need to do,
Yeah.
Jerry, is we need to check and make sure that, number one, you received a
Right.
certified.
that it was delivered.
That's my question.
Right.
Like, you know, go to the point of going to send certified letters to the neighbors, the legal neighbors, and then they're not giving anything. And then the BZA acts on it, there's nobody here to even know that what's going on to contest it.
The other thing I'd ask, Ryan, is if we could determine when that variance, the second round on Craig occurred, so that we can line that up with whether Jerry might have had some medical issues that didn't allow him to be present at that time, because I'm sure if he could have, he would have been.
If I would have gotten a certified letter, Pegger, I one would have been here. If I was at
So can we
Not an
do
ambulance
that?
break.
Can we do those two things?
You should have they should have a receipt showing that that letter came
Well, you have
in.
to
or
sign
didn't.
and send it
Yes.
back anyway.
They have to sign and send it back. That number should be kept on record.
Thanks, Jerry.
Okay, at this time, we've gone beyond our allotted hour. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned, thank you.
We can turn in our findings of facts. Yours complete. I've taken it. Thank you.
What do you got there?
A lot of information there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like what we talked about.
Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you.
Right here.
Yes, I put
I
mine.
got mine there too.
Okay. Perfect.
And that's going as in,
How you doing, buddy? No, not me, bro.
Spending a lot of energy on gathering information, having conversations. It's like this with Mr. Schultz. I'm listening to the whole thing. It's like there's some history here. I don't know. You know, so the more information I can get, the better. Okay, yeah. Yes, yes. I'll start.
It fits, right? Yeah. It seems like home. It is still a feature.
Everything is so interesting. I'm just trying to keep things in.
Katie, you start recording.